Hey, boys and girls. So, another day of social studies. I wanted to go over your slides from yesterday. So, yesterday you were doing cause two. And in cause two, which was the effects, the problems that happened after the French and Indian War. So, you should have, make it nice and big for you so you can see. The first slide was introducing what started to happen after. So how was the king? Well, first of all, what did Great Britain gain from winning the war? They got more land. So they got more land. It tells us right here that they did give some land to Spain, but Great Britain gained more than just the Ohio Valley. So they got the Ohio Valley. They also got Canada and all of the land along the Atlantic Ocean, including Spanish Florida. How did King George III anger the colonists? They just fought in a war and helped Britain gain all this land. And then he passed a proclamation and said that they could not settle. They couldn't live in the Ohio Valley. So that kind of ticked them off a little bit. They were like, wait a minute, we just fought in this war and many of our people died for you to gain this land and you're going to tell us we can't live here? So they didn't like that. The next one is who was being charged for the French and Indian War. A lot of people were confused on this one. It just means who is paying for it. So we talked yesterday that the wars are expensive, so it costs a lot of money. Who is paying it back? The colonists. So the colonists were angry when Parliament began to pass tax laws specifically for the colonies. So they felt it was unfair because they were not necessarily taxing the people who lived in Britain. And since the colonists consider themselves British citizens, they felt that was unfair. So money of the colonies would be sent to Great Britain to pay the tax, and they thought that was unfair. The last one that you are expected to answer today yesterday, why were the colonists getting angry? They were getting angry because King George was not being fair to them. They were being taxed and they had no representation. So there's a very famous line or saying that came out of the American Revolution, and it's no taxation without representation. They felt that it was unfair to be taxed if they have nobody who is standing up for them in Parliament and nobody who's speaking for them. So today even in the White House and in Washington, D.C., we have people who speak for us from every single state. The colonists didn't have that. There was nobody from the colonies speaking for them. So they were just being taxed and taxed and taxed, and nobody was there saying, hey, these people can't do this. So they really, really felt that was unfair. Okay, today there is one last set of slides for cause number 3. Where are they? Aha! Found them. Okay, so today you'll see that this slide that I was just talking about is going to be on there. You don't have to do this, post it again, and I will have a little note down here where it says speaker notes. There will be a note that says you don't have to do this again because you already did it. But cause number 3 is when the colonists begin to unite. I just included this slide again because cause 3 this paragraph starts on this slide, so I wanted you to be able to read the whole thing again. So the colonists begin to unite together. They're working together to combat all these taxes that are happening. So the first question is, what is a boycott? This is something they do when they are joining together to kind of let Britain know that they're unhappy. Then there's, of course, the Boston Massacre, and asked you to find a picture. See if you can find that picture that Paul Revere drew, and go ahead and add it in there. You can just Google it, the Paul Revere Boston Massacre picture. It's the painting that he drew of. It looks like that the British are gunning down the colonists. The next one is, what is the goal of the Committee of Correspondence? So that is going to tell you what the Committee of Correspondence is, but what is their goal? Why are they meeting? What are they trying to do? I will go over this tomorrow, and I will write you notes to fix things if you don't have the correct information. I will say that some people I can tell, are not reading the whole thing because they're like writing the first word. Please read the whole thing. I am reading them, so I will be able to tell. Also, please make sure you're watching my videos. They are on Edpuzzle. I can tell if you haven't watched them, so please make sure you're watching them. The next question is, how did the colonists try to solve their problems with Great Britain? So what did they do? They did quite a bit of different things. They did not actually want to have a revolution. They wanted to make up with the king and parliament. They wanted to continue to be they wanted to be British citizens, and they wanted to be treated like British citizens. But they felt like they weren't getting what they wanted. So what are some things that they did to try and solve the problem before it got to the war? Then it's going to start talking about the shot heard around the world. So those are the first shots that take place in the American Revolution. This is considered the first kind of battles, Lexington and Concord. And that's also where you have your famous saying, Mr. Paul Revere, the guy who drew the Boston Massacre picture. He's the guy who rode the horse and said, and they very famously say, he says, "The British are coming, the British are coming." So that's the same guy. So this is going to tell you about the shot heard around the world, which is Lexington and Concord. It's in Massachusetts. It's going to tell you a little bit about that and continue on more about Lexington and Concord. And then this slide is just kind of wrapping up. So there's no Post-its on the last two slides. This one's just kind of wrapping up everything that you just read. Tomorrow, there will be a little quiz, just making sure that I know that you all have read, number one, that you've read, and number two, that you understand what you read. And then we'll move into the actual revolution and the battles and stuff that happened then. Okay, guys, so happy reading. So there are, let's see, there's 1, 2, 3 Post-its for today. But you do need to read all of the slides. Happy reading.